Welcome back to Couch, the best place to chill with friends. Get your game goodness each and every Monday. My name's John Black. Joining me on the couch this week, Ashley Hobley.
Dylan, what a week it's been, you know? First penis rocket has ever gone to space. It's crazy.
Yeah, penis rocket, that's it. It literally is.
It's the mate. When everybody remembers this week, they're going to remember.
That's what they're going to remember. Yeah. I'm not going to remember this week.
I think so.
And I'm probably not going to think about the penis rocket. I completely forgot it was a thing until you just mentioned it completely. To be honest, yeah. I don't know if it's sad that the fact that I can just forget that people can travel to space. Like, doesn't that make it sound like it's not a big thing?
Yeah.
But I'm just...
They used to be like a massive achievement that people actually liked and like would celebrate.
Yeah.
You know, it's like...
I'm like, we have robots now and stuff, you know, like... Going to space? Cool story.
No.
Bunch of rich people go to space? I don't really care. Good-o. They're like, we're doing it so you can do it. No, we can't afford that. We're the poors. Like, what do you...
I mean, it's a pretty bold choice for them to go first and, like, you know, troubleshoot it.
Sure, take all the billionaires to space to test. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you know what it is? It's like it's like the vaccine. It's like politicians showing you that the vaccine is like.
Oh yeah, I get it first to make sure it works.
Yeah, just so you can have confidence in
that it works.
Space travel. Yeah. That it works. Like, I wouldn't put myself at risk if I knew it was going to blow up. You know.
You can feel it that way. Yeah.
That's why they went first.
I'm sure. That's why they have the vaccine first as well. Yeah. To make sure it's okay. Yeah. Scott Morrison didn't just have it because
celebrities,
because he's a cunt.
Two things can be true.
Okay, fair. Today on the show, Death's Door review, our thoughts on Pokemon Unite, everything from EA Play Live 2021. But first, let's go over the fucked up. Look, I want to briefly touch on the fucked up news stories of the week. I don't really know how or why or what there is even to really say about the Activision one. To put it bluntly, well, I'll just read the start of this Kotaku article, and then of course it will be in the show notes, and you should go read the whole thing for yourself, and you could read the parts of the report they've pulled out, because shit's fucked. But Kotaku writes, Activision Blizzard, the publishing giant behind everything from Call of Duty to Overwatch, is being sued by the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing over a frat boy workplace culture that alleges has led to years of harassment and abuse targeting the women as workforce. And they give a content warning for suicide, harassment, and rape, and they're not really fucking around when you get down and you start reading some of the stories. Bloomberg reports that the suit filed on July 20th is the culmination of a 2-year investigation into the publisher by the department, which says that Activision Blizzard's, quote, compliance with California's broad workplace protections is long overdue, end quote. They then continue to say that to enforce such compliance, the DFEAH brings a government enforcement action seeking to remedy, prevent, and deter Activision Blizzard's violations of state civil rights and equal pay laws, while pointing out the lack of women in leadership positions at the company and the difficulties they have faced in gaining promotions. The suit also highlights enormous pay discrepancies at the executive level between women and men. It says that women not only promoted more slowly, but they're also terminated more quickly than their male counterparts. The company's frat boy workplace culture is also mentioned as a breeding ground for harassment and discrimination against women. Some of the examples listed below include blah, 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 blah. There are stories there about, I don't know, there's one about someone being like butt plugs and shit on, look, shit's fucked. I don't really know that. I looked on Twitter right before recording. CEO, I can't remember his name. The dude, whoever's in charge of Blizzard, put out a statement and did the whole typical CEO thing of like, oh, no idea. This is bad. Oh, do better. Like, it was the most like sort of vanilla, you know, like typical.
Most PR spun, most like watered down response possible.
And look, when you have this many stories, and this many people like accounts, and I know it's over 2 years, obviously the report, but still, when you have this much shit going on, and just it literally does sound like a frat boy party, like the most evil, fucked up frat boy party workplace culture. And then for the CEO to be like, never noticed, you know, like it's like, come on. I think this is one of the most, I think the difference between this and other stories we've heard is often the reporting is like Kotaku reports, Bloomberg reports, or someone, and they've had someone reach out to them, like a source or someone who's willing to put their name on record, and they're sort of reporting those stories. The big difference between this and the other ones is that it's literally
the government,
a government doing their job, like work safe practices type place, or like a HR, possibly even like the HR department being like, shit's fucked, and then reaching out if they're doing their job properly. I don't really know.
I think it's them. I think it's the victims like going out to a third party.
To the point that the government's like, we got to do a 2-year investigation into this place, this company. Like, if you was to read this about any company, you'd be like, shit's fucked. Let alone one that's, you know, because we're talking about games. You're like, shit is really fucked. Yeah, I mean, the long story short, it is all just, it is all dude bro, frat bro, the worst type of shit. And seemingly no one stops it or cares to stop it, or they're afraid to stop it. Because there's stories in here where it's like, well, if there was one person in the room who would have said, don't do that. Don't say that. You know, like, apparently there's no one that works at Activision. I mean, there probably is, and they're probably just afraid. I can't assume that everyone there is a fuckhead, but like a lot of these stories, you're like, why hasn't anyone just said, don't be a fuckhead, you know? Like, and I think that's like the moral I've seen, the sort of message I've seen going around by a lot of people reading this article on Twitter today, like, because it was only went up this morning or overnight or whatever it was. A lot of people are like, look, you can read that and be like, man, Activision's fucked, but also the other takeaway, and they're right, this is like not a big takeaway. It's like, the main takeaway to have is at your workplace, if you see, obviously you're probably not going to see anything as bad as this, but like, it can be a lot smaller, and just don't be the person that's like not willing to go, hey, don't be a fuckhead. You know, like, it's not hard. So, I don't know. I don't know if you have any 2 cents on this. But.
No, it's like, it's very depressing. Especially, it feels like we've get so many of these stories, it's almost like we're at the point of being desensitized to it a little bit.
Yeah.
It's almost like another studio get caught up in abuse stories. It's like, oh, another mass shooting in America. It's like, you almost come to expect it, which is sad for the people involved, and then sad for all the people who have those experiences and are kind of triggered by the reporting of these news, having to deal with it again and again and again. I think I've seen a bunch of people say it, that really we shouldn't question women's passion for video games or love of video games, because they're in an industry that doesn't love them back, that constantly is just trying to get them out. So they must love it a hell of a lot to be willing to stick around through all this shit. You know, and they're just making the process of making games more difficult. Which explains why, you know, there has been many good Activision games recently. Yeah, it's just depressing and fucked up, and, you know, we just have to call this shit out whenever we possibly can, and like listen to people. I don't know. There's no obvious solution. I'm glad the government is involved, and hopefully they hit them somewhere on their bottom line. I don't think boycotts are going to work, because, let's be honest, World of Warcraft is a massive game. Call of Duty is a massive game. They're going to make money hand over fist no matter what they do.
You'd need enough people.
Unless they committed like an actual.
Yeah, I was about to say, because boycotts do work if people actually boycott. Like, let's not say that boycotts don't make a difference. If enough people actually did it. But the problem is that World of Warcraft and Call of Duty are filled with the types of players who won't read about this story and or don't care. Not to generalize, but also to generalize. You know. Also,
maybe we should just shut down frats. Frats shouldn't be a thing anymore.
That also shouldn't be a thing. I don't know why that was ever a thing. It was always,
you know, that culture.
It was always very weird growing up in Australia and seeing like that stuff in movies and being like, I don't know. It's weird.
No.
Yeah. It just encourages that culture from college or whatever, uni, whatever it's called there, and then that culture follows through to when they leave and go get a job, because they're like, well, I just did that for 4 or 5 years or however long. I just frat boy shit. So now it's like a job. I don't know why they do it. It's stupid. I don't know who the fuck started it.
But that's not to say that this kind of stuff doesn't happen in.
No, it still would, but it obviously doesn't. It obviously doesn't. It just helps ferment.
Just need to stop glorifying that in media and stuff. Yeah.
Well, as to I'll say as to the whole, because there is a degree of we read about this so often. It's you can get that desensitized or whatever, and there's also to a degree that whole thing of we've covered so many of these stories or whatever. You get sick of talking about it, but that's why I always want to make sure that even if I get on here and I don't want to read all this because it's rather dark, and some of them are rather dark. That's probably you can go read yourself, but I want to make sure at least this stuff. If I ever reach a stage where I'm like, oh, another one of these, I don't want to talk about an arcade couch, then
we're all fucked.
Yeah,
because if you reach the point where you don't care.
Yeah. And it's not like I feel like talking about them makes a difference. I don't feel like talking about them is making any difference. I don't feel like we're making any difference talking about it, but it's just more for my own, setting a standard thing. If I'm not willing to talk about it and put it out there so that people listen to this, why should I be on Twitter saying this?
Why, if you're not willing to say it now when you're not directly involved, why would you think you would say it when you are directly involved?
Yeah. So go read that story, everyone. It's fucked. But you should read it so you can understand. Kotaku, wherever, the Bloomberg thing's got longer thing, but Kotaku one was what I was looking at. So that was fucked. And we got another one that's fucked to talk about. So I'll read the start of this one because this ties into you can't. I saw the headlines for this other day and I was like, oh, this is going to be a joke on Arcade Couch. And then I read the story. I'm like, this cannot be a joke anymore because the headline originally I saw is. It was Skull and Bones, in trouble development, and then I read about why and what's going on. I'm like, okay, well, anyway. So GameIndustry.biz writes, a new report has given another insight into the toxic culture reportedly at play within Ubisoft development studios, this time concerning its Singapore branch. Kotaku has published an expose speaking to more than 20 former and current staff members from the studio, one of whom described Singapore as, quote, one of the worst Ubisoft studios in terms of culture. I'd like to stop there for a second and say, one of the worst at Ubisoft. That is a fucking high bar considering where we're coming from within the last 12 months when it comes to Ubisoft. A studio that I think a lot of people still, or maybe you forgot. And look, they've done a pretty good job at making sure people try and forget, but they have never really, I'm still waiting for Guillemot to do fucking something other than his 30-second, 45-second I didn't know, and I'm working. Fuck.
Video that was posted elsewhere away from a major.
Yeah. Elsewhere away from anywhere where normal general gamers may have been watching the stream because they didn't want them to know that there's something going on. So anyway, they still haven't really, Ubisoft in general, by the way, everyone still hasn't really touched on that or said what the fuck was happening or, there's still a bunch of people working at Ubisoft that, not say there's good people working at Ubisoft. I follow some people that work at Ubisoft, and I'm sure they're, as far as I know, they're all very nice people. But in the higher up spectrum of Ubisoft, including all the way up to Yves and his family,
questionable.
Some fucking shit going on there. Anyway, accusations include sexual harassment, bullying by managers, and racial pay disparities, with much of the toxicity occurring under the leadership of Hugus Recall was accused of sexual harassment by multiple people in a Gamasutra report back in August 2020, which came in the wake of the first wave of major allegations against senior Ubisoft staff. In November, it was reported that he had been removed from his role as studio head of the Ubisoft Singapore, although his own LinkedIn profile indicates he held the position until February. He remains at Ubisoft, currently in the role of Production Intelligence Director and based at the publisher's Paris HQ. So again, asterisk, they've done this for a lot of the people. They've either moved them or some of the ones that you hear have left Ubisoft, they're just off on sick leave for a prolonged time and they're still in the books. And that's just the start of the problem with this Ubisoft thing. They're like, oh, they're gone. And then you look into it and people obviously look into it and then you find out they're just getting paid for sick leave or whatever, especially if they're the higher up positions, the ones where they're just paying them to fucking go sit on a yacht somewhere or whatever the hell they're doing. And this one, they just move them somewhere else where they're less in public eye. Hopefully everyone will get over this in 6 months. That's what I assume they say. And we have to not get over it in 6 months or else, the That's the whole point. Kotaku reports he was replaced by Daryl Long, formerly head of Ubisoft Winnipeg, with sources claiming he is an improvement, but alleged pay disparities and other issues are still ongoing. Points out the studio was created in 2008 as a co-development operation that contributes Assassin's Creed and World Phoenix Rising, blah, 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 blah. But then it was put out to work on Skull and Bones. Sources claim Singapore government gave Ubisoft hefty subsidies in hopes that the studio would train up local talent who would eventually take over studios themselves. But while Ubisoft has reportedly taken the subsidies, leadership is still granted to expats rather than local staff, as demonstrated by the appointment of Long to replace Recall. Furthermore, Kotaku sources report big difference in pay for local staff compared to those who moved to Singapore to work at the studio, with some of the former still having to live with parents due to their low salaries. The gap is reported as between $5,000 and $10,000 per year in many instances, although there are examples of wider disparities. Some senior managers are reportedly paid significantly more than those at the studios like Ubisoft Montreal and Massive Entertainment. Blah, blah, blah. So it goes on. Also, this part, it is claimed that sexual harassment incidents are swept under the rug. Kotaku says one case that led to a formal review resulted in nothing more than a formal warning and mandatory training in cultural sensitivity. The woman who reported she was being harassed appealed this situation. The man she accused was moved to another building. The whole process took 9 months, and sources report the bro culture remained, with some staff even mocking the training after they completed it. Then Ubisoft put out this whole bullshit report saying, you know, like, we have this great culture, blah, 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 blah. Long story short, so Skull and Bones is apparently, if you read the full Kotaku report, Skull and Bones is generally apparently up shit creek. They've restarted it, restarted it. Apparently they're in alpha currently. It sounds like a game they may have scrapped and given up on at some stage like any other game, but they couldn't because of the money the Singaporean government had dumped into them. So now they are obligated to finish the game, but the studio that's running it is apparently being run like a shit show with this whole just terrible workplace culture. No, it doesn't sound like they actually have someone leading there who knows how to finish and get Skull and Bones to being an actual game, let alone make sure that people aren't, you know, doing all these other things in the studio that we're talking about and whatever else. So yeah, that's what I was like saying. When I read the original headline about Skull and Bones, I was like, oh great, we can all make fun of Dylan. But now I'm like, do I even care about Skull and Bones? No, that game's dead to me now. I don't care.
I think the lore of arcade couches, you already turned on it when it stopped being just one ship and you became a fleet of ships. Me and Kieran switched over. We're all off Scott. I like to say
I've taken a plank. You know what I'm saying?
It's a massive albatross around the neck of Ubisoft, an anchor, if you will, pulling them down, pulling their margins down. At some point, they just need to pull the trigger and like put it out, just so. Even if it's shit, just so they can get themselves out of the situation they're currently
with the government. Yeah. Then close the studio and fire all the terrible people and I don't know.
But there's a certain degree where I understand where there might be a pay disparity. Like if you're moving all the way to another country, you would want to be paid a little bit more than
Would you though?
You're currently getting paid over. I think so.
I don't think that's how it works though.
That would entice you to go, I think.
That's not how it works.
Yeah.
They may pay you a bonus, I guess. That's different. Hey, we think you'd be really great over here. Here's a bonus. A one-off bonus payment.
No, I don't think that's... I think it's a pretty common thing that if you're to go to a pretty random place, they'll pay you more to incentivize you.
I don't think that's fair. Because
I don't think it's... I don't know if it's necessarily fair, but that's just how things work.
Well, from all I've heard, like that's not how it's worked here. I've never heard.
Yeah, because Australia's pretty great.
Never heard any of that. No, I don't know. And the reason I point out there is a good point. Like the whole, you know, Singapore. They think the government. They think
it's like if say they needed doctors out in the outback or whatever, you would get paid more to be a doctor out there than you probably would in the city. Because they need the people over there.
Yeah, but they don't need the people there. They have people that want to do it who just need a little bit of extra training or whatever, or who... But it doesn't sound like the people who...
Yeah, they need somebody who can actually give them training and not abuse them. So, I mean...
Yeah. Because it doesn't...
Those are hard to come by, apparently.
They don't not have people capable. It's like someone walking... It's like if you started...
No, they just don't have people that the people at the top of Ubisoft trust.
Yeah. But it's like if...
And it's going to be impossible for them to trust them when they're on the other side of the world.
But it's like if you start a new job and you walk in the first day and they're like, well, we could have flown in someone from a different state who's done this job for 10 years that's better than you. It's like, well, yeah.
But it's only people at the very top.
Yeah, you could have.
It's like...
So, I don't know. It's like... Pay them a bonus. Pay them,
no, but you should still be paying your people a livable wage.
Well, yeah,
at the bottom.
People shouldn't be. That's a huge pay difference that they're having, especially if they're talking about people who are supposedly in the same positions, right? They're talking about someone who's hired as job A and job A, and person working in job A's local. Person who's working job A has got flown in. And yet they have a $10,000 difference because one got flown in.
Well, I'd assume the person who got flown in also has a vastly...
But how do we know? Because it's not like they don't have a game industry there.
Yeah, that's true.
They do have a game industry there. They had one before Ubisoft decided to put a studio there. It's not like a fucking studio set up in a country that's never had a game development studio there. And they're being taught how to do it. Like they have, I'm assuming these people are experienced because they have studios there.
Well, you're assuming, I'm assuming, we don't know. So,
well, no, I know they have game studios. We know they have game studios. We know there's Singapore, like we know there's studios.
But do we know?
Yeah. I mean, if you could name somewhere, and I can guarantee there's at least one studio there, probably. But I know Singapore has several studios. Like there was local talent. Imagine if someone started a studio here and they're like, "Oh, Australians don't have game developers because we're fucking big, dumb, big corporate company who just assumes we don't know shit." Anyway,
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we tried.
Yeah. Well. Anyway, shit's fucked. Shit's fucked on both those. Yeah, that's all I got. One game review this week. Good game review.
Yay.
Good game to talk about. So it's a game we've talked about on the show a couple times since it was revealed. Was really excited for it. Death's Door came out last Friday. Last Friday, Thursday, one of those days. Got a review up, explosion.com.
You know, it came out like Wednesday, right?
Oh, did it? Oh, yeah, Wednesday this week.
The review only went out on Tuesday.
There you go, so. Wednesday this week. Wednesday last week. This is out Monday, so Wednesday last week.
Yeah.
It was annoying because it came out a couple of days. It was in a weird spot. Coming out on Wednesday puts it a couple of days after episode, but then, it's just anyway. Reviews up, explosion.com. I gave it a 9.5.
This is 9. the one you teased last week, remember?
That is it. That is it. Favorite game of the year so far? Slightly in front of Returnal. I'd put it in my list. Although it's really hard to compare this and Returnal. But different games, but they're both very good.
Aren't they like roguelites?
No, this is not a roguelike. This is a old-fashioned adventure game like the Legend of Zelda franchise is the game that most people are going to be comparing it to, and that's because that is the most comparable game it is to. Because I talked about it on preview, right? I talked about this when I did my preview, but I'll do it again. So you play as a crow. In case you haven't been watching the show or listening to the show, sorry. You play as a crow who basically works at this place where a bunch of other crows get together and they have to go through these magical doors that takes them to a world, and they have to collect souls of the dead. So you're basically the Grim Reaper, but you're a crow, and that's your job. So early in the game, you go to collect this soul. You fight the first boss in the game. You're like, cool, there's my big soul. I get to take it back to work. Good job for me. I get to continue being a wonderful worker, and everyone loves me for the rest of my life. Then this other big crow turns up, nicks this soul. So now you cannot return to work
what a dick.
And live there. You can pop back in to say hello, but they're like, look, you need to get that soul. So you need to go track down that soul. And the problem is that the longer you're in I don't want to call it the real world, because it's like you're in it's all part of the afterlife, I guess, or whatever you want to call it. But the longer you're in this part, the crow will age. So you'll eventually age and die, is the problem. So to get back this soul, dun dun dun.
So it's like Sifu.
It's like real life. So to get back the soul that you're after, you need to basically, the setup is like, here's 3 people, they're in castles and tight places. They've each got something that you need to send you on your mission. There you go have fun. So then you head off to the first place, and basically there's the game sort of structured like almost like a Zelda game or whatever, where it's like you have the main sort of area that connects to the other ones. So you'll always sort of be traveling back through there to get to the next place. But you'll head through to an area. You'll have to go through a certain, it's not open world, but like, you travel through the main world to get there. When you get to like the first person is this witch's castle, the end witch. When you get to her castle grounds, you sort of got to fight through there, and then you get into the castle itself, and that's like a dungeon. That's like a Zelda dungeon where there's, rooms, and you have to go in there, solve a puzzle. Eventually, every time you're in one of these places, there's a new spell you get, which allows you to solve puzzles in that place, and then also allows you to travel to unlock a pathway to the next location you need to travel to. Like, so it has this progression system that feels obviously very Zelda-like. The main thing about the combat in this game, which of course we've seen like trailers and stuff, is this fast-paced. It's faster paced than the Zelda to a degree, because you have this role, and you have like sort of other spells, and the enemies are a lot harder hitting or whatever. But it's not like the combat, especially some of the bosses towards the end of the game. Like the last couple bosses gave me a right fucking pain in my behind. They were quite tough. But also, this isn't a Souls game where you're fighting. Like, if you die at the first boss in the Ernwich Castle, you're not having to fight your way all the way through there again, losing your soul. Like, it's not a roguelike. You respawn outside the boss door at a checkpoint, and you walk back in and have another go. So you're not rage quitting off that factor. What joke are you thinking of? Because you got smoke on your face, so I assume.
No.
Come on.
I don't got any jokes.
Okay. No, you sure? Yeah, so it is difficult, but it's not a Souls-like. It's not a Souls-like, is the thing. Even though you do collect souls, so when you defeat enemies, you collect their souls. You can spend those back at your workplace to a crow there who will upgrade your attack, your attack speed, your magic damage, something else like your general dodge speed and movement speed or something like that is what you can spend those souls on. But again, when you die in the game, you don't lose those souls. So, like, this is like a normal video game where the worst that happens when you die is you respawn at the last checkpoint, which may be a minute from where you was. But like, if you're in the dungeon and you just solved a puzzle and you die, whatever door you just unlocked is still unlocked. You're good. So don't be scared of the game that way. If the last couple of boss fights, hard. Not Dark Souls hard. They're hard, but you'll be right.
How hard?
No, I died like, I don't know, 30, 40 times probably on the last one, something like that. So the last boss gave me a really, I don't know, was tickling me in a funny way.
Did you break your controller?
No, I did not break a controller, but I wanted to. It's just there was a certain attack the last boss does that I knew how to dodge it, but my brain, I swear, was just like unable to compute for a lot of the time until I managed to get it. So, but all the bosses are very much old school boss design, where they have attacks and you simply need to learn them. So it's like you go into a boss fight and it kills you with a certain attack, and you're like, oh, cool. So when they wind up their arm like this, they're going to cast this, like they're easily, I can't remember what word I'm trying to say. You can easily view, like the animation of the bosses will tell you what attack they're about to do. And they usually only have 3, 4, 5 by the time you reach the end of the game, more obviously, but the first couple of bosses have like 2, 3 different attacks. So once you've died once, probably twice, I don't know, you've seen all their attacks, and it's just a matter of you remembering and getting out of the way, because you'll know where you have to be or what you have to do and whatnot. So yeah. So gameplay wise, this game's phenomenal. Looks really good. The animations are really fantastic. The between attacking, rolling, all this sort of stuff. Like, it just feels so good to play. It just does really feel like a really good hack slash 2.5D or whatever you want to call it game, mixed with the sort of adventure Zelda-like elements. It just feels really, really good. It looks stunning. The art design's great. The creature design and all that sort of stuff is really, really good. Character design's fantastic. I know I talked about this in my preview, but I'll just mention again. The game is very funny. From the character I mentioned in the preview, Pothead, who you meet early in the game, who's probably one of the funniest characters I think I've seen in any video game in quite some time. Probably definitely my favorite character in a video game for years. It's just one random side character, but every single line this character said just made me laugh for some reason. But it's funny and there's stuff I even missed. Like, I saw someone post on Twitter when the game came out about, I don't know if you saw this, I think I retweeted it, it was going around. If you cut the signs in half, like the ones that are arrows that are like, go to this town here, and then if you cut it in half and then you go to read it, the text is just like half cut off. I'm like, little details like that is just like, just funny little humor hidden in the game, just like little attention to detail, stuff like
little
that.
Bits.
Yeah. Because it is like, it's very funny for a game that's set, about death and you're hunting down souls and all this sort of stuff. But all the characters are funny. All the bosses are funny. One of them doesn't talk, so maybe not that one. But all the other ones are very funny and amusing. Soundtrack's phenomenal. It's definitely the soundtrack of the year so far. I think I was trying to think if there was anything else even close to it, to be honest. But that's definitely up there. And the story is good. Like, the story, I mean, it's not going to win narrative of the year or whatever, but the story is solid for this sort of game. The lore, the world, and all that. It
serves its purpose.
Yeah. You don't get bored. You want to see what happens next, but you also not like, it's not it's not The Last of Us or whatever. So, I mean, all the elements come together. It really is, and it's made by a small team. There's like 2 people in Acid Nerve, the main team, and they have like 3, 4, 5, something like that. People who I guess were contractors or something along that. Something along those lines that came, but it's made by like 5-ish people or something, like, I think total for the whole fucking game. Gameplay design through to music, it's like 5 people. It's absolutely nuts. So play it. It's game of the year so far for me. It's definitely going to be a lot of people's top 10s. Like, I would see no reason why. Everyone that started playing it since it came out, everyone's been loving it. Really good to see. It's one of those games where you're like, this is just great. Really happy the final product. It was a game that when the trailer got shown, I was like, fuck yeah, this looks awesome. There's nothing better than watching a trailer going, fuck yeah, that looks awesome, and it actually coming out and being like, I am not disappointed. I'm actually happy, because quite often, and I mean, I don't get too annoyed when this happens, but obviously I rode Biomutant. I was like, oh, fuck yeah, Biomutant came out, and I was like, it's okay. Which is fine. It's going to happen. I don't go too deep down the rabbit hole.
They can't all be winners.
Yeah, I don't get too attached to stuff where I'm going to be brokenhearted if it doesn't live up to me, but it's always good when something like this comes out and you're like, this looks really good. And it's better than I thought it would be, to be honest, Like, you're like, this looks good. Fucking great. So, yeah, after hearing... So, you were keen for this. Like, after hearing it, some of the bosses can be hard or whatever, how's your current... You're like, oh, no. Or, like, what's your...
Well, I mean, it's currently the highest rated game on OpenCritic, I believe. So, it's definitely one I feel like I need to check out before the end of the year. So, that's the current plan.
Good plan.
As soon as time frees up.
You should buy it on Steam now because it had like opening week sale or whatever. It's like 25% off or something. I think. Ooh. Something like that. They had it cheaper for week 1 anyway. You know how they always have the cheaper the first week games?
Yeah, but I could just bite the bullet. Like, pay for Game Pass for a week.
I don't think it's on Game Pass.
Even. Isn't it? I thought it was a Game Pass game.
I believe so, no. Pretty sure it's not.
Well, then Steam it is.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think it's on Game Pass. I know we expect everything to be on Game Pass, Ash, since you're such a super fan, but this was not on Game Pass. Alright, let's talk some news. Firstly, Fall Guys, Season 5. Let's go over what's coming. Fall Guys Season 5, Push Square Rights, has been officially revealed via livestream. It looks like another pretty substantial update to the popular Battle Royale platformer. We already knew this season would bring a jungle theme, and it seems this becomes all new things to come see and do. As you might expect, Season 5 will introduce a handful of new rounds. 6 new levels will be added to the rotation, and they sound pretty great. Treetop Tumble is a new obstacle course with branching paths, while Pegwin Pool Party has you sliding down slopes and trying to grab onto those pesky birds. Stomping Ground is all about surviving an onslaught of 3 mechanical rhinos as they charge about. Lily Reaper is a sort of platform challenge about jumping between layers of drums, while Bubble Trouble is all about popping bubbles in a large arena. Lastly, Lost Temple is a new final round in which you must reach the crown at the center, but the path there is constantly changing. And then they went over some other stuff that's being added, including limited time events. They'll offer rare rewards, and they're adding special guests, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago. And this stuff already leaked. They announced this morning that Ratchet and Clank costume's coming, so the rest of the ones that leaked are definitely coming as well. There was like the Splunky one and the Canon one and all this sort of stuff that had leaked, so all of that's definitely true.
Did they confirm how that's working? Are people on PC and stuff going to be able to get the Ratchet and Clank ones?
I did not double check, to be honest. But I know PlayStation tweeted it out.
Really not that important.
Don't know.
Because everyone's playing it on PlayStation, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I assume. Yeah, that's where
the only platform.
Squads mode will also get some attention. That they'll be adding trialing duos and trios playlists for a limited time, and blah 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 blah. So I thought this was a very substantial update, and this feels like the first update that maybe got some of the epic backing,
epic money.
Is that what, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, like
yep.
This sounds like usually some seasons it's just like, oh, there's a skin on this map, or this challenge, or it's a slight twist on this game mode we've seen before or whatever. Whereas all these sound and look pretty new, like the games and the final challenge and all that. It all sounds a lot new, fresher than any of the 4 previous seasons have been to a degree. Yeah, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, I played 1 round before the podcast. I lasted 2 events. I got fucked. Bloody team couldn't do the battery level very well.
How were they?
But what?
How were they?
No, I didn't get to play any of the new levels. It was all old stuff. But yeah, got to the team match where you're supposed to carry batteries and like light up the most tiles for your team as possible. We got smashed. Yeah. But yeah, this seems like, they're continuing to support Fall Guys. Fall Guys, despite Kieran's constant claims.
It's a dead game.
Not a dead game.
Kieran thinks everything's dead.
Still very much alive and well.
Only 2 people streaming it on Twitch. Living. It's dead.
Twitch isn't the end all and be all.
Yeah, go check Facebook Gaming. Come on.
Yeah.
Get your real figures.
Check out YouTube
Gaming, yeah.
YouTube Gaming. I'm sure huge audience for Fall Guys over there for some reason. But yeah, hopefully, we can get in the same time,
play some games
together
actually
at some point.
Yeah. Try for the 4th time this year to play some games.
Yeah. Get me that Clank skin.
Yeah. Well, it's not for lack of trying.
Just the headpiece. I stick with the gym short skin for the bottom for everything.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Fair.
Never changing, but
I appreciate the commitment.
Give me that Clank head. The Clank head with the gym shorts, that'd be cool.
You can rock that style. Yeah. All right, so Netflix is getting into gaming. In a letter to investors, the company said they're in the early stages of further expanding into games. This comes after their past efforts, including interactive TV games, including Black Mirror, Bandersnatch, and the Stranger Things games that they'd put out or worked with to put out, but they were like sort of throwback 16-bit games or whatever. Netflix is planning to offer games as part of the Netflix subscription for no additional cost. In their thing, the letter to investors, they said games will be included in members' Netflix subscription at no additional cost. Some of the films and series initially will be primarily focused on games for mobile devices. We're excited as ever about our movies and TV series offering, and we expect a long runway of increasing investment and growth across all of our existing content categories. But since we're nearly a decade into our push into original programming, we think the time is right to learn more about how our members value games. So what do you think of this news? Netflix getting into games full time, starting at mobile. Starting is the important word, not like they're not like we're getting into mobile. We're starting at mobile. They've hired someone, or they've brought in someone to Mike Verdu, has been hired as vice president of the game development over at Netflix. He's previously was working at Facebook prior to this, and before that he worked at EA, Zynga, Atari. So he's been around the business for a while. So they've brought in someone, with experience to head up this department. What do you reckon? Netflix getting into gaming, part of the subscription service. How does that exactly work?
Yeah, this doesn't seem like a good idea. They should maybe just stick to what they're good at. I don't have much faith in this. It just obviously it's a huge market. But it's very crowded, and Netflix is obviously really good at the thing they do. And maybe they should just stick to that. I'm cool with them like licensing out their IPs and that kind of thing. I think if that's what they actually mean, like, hey, there's going to be a Stranger Things themed mobile game. There's going to be a dark themed mobile puzzle game that you can play. Cool. But if they're like developing games specifically for you to play on Netflix, that seems weird. Unless it's like more stuff like Bandersnatch and like the Minecraft Telltale's game series.
They brought that to Netflix. It was a game first, and then they basically made it Netflix.
If you're going to do that, like the thing that instantly came to mind was they just had the massive Fear Street event. What if they had Goosebumps, Choose Your Own Adventure, live action?
Yeah, maybe that's cool. Maybe that's the sort of stuff they're going to look into.
That would get some views.
Yeah, get some plays.
Yeah.
I'm not totally in the same boat as you solely because, like, they're a company that started as basically let's try and fight Blockbuster. And we rent out movies, and they sent you DVDs, and you had to send them back. And now, at some stage during all that, they said we should get into original programming. And someone said, we can't do that because we're a Blockbuster type company. We rent out movies. And someone said, no, we should make our own programming. And look where the fuck they are now. So all I'm going to say is, maybe it goes horribly wrong, but Netflix is also a company that has proven that they completely did something you wouldn't have thought that made sense for them as a company. And here we are.
I will counter that with Amazon started out as an online bookstore.
Yeah.
Went in, became the massive company that it is, to the point where they're sending penis-shaped spaceships into space.
That's not a counter. That's more.
But they've struggled to put out any video games. Okay. Video games are much harder than people say. All right.
Well, just because Amazon can't do it doesn't mean Netflix can't, So we shall see. We shall see. I mean, there's a bunch of Netflix IP I'd love to see turned into a video game. So I'm like, all right, well, see how you go.
Yeah, no? Give us the orange is the new black prison simulator.
Yeah, there you go. Still a crossover with.
Give us that.
Whatever that game's called. Prison simulator? No. What's the Prison Break? No.
Prison.
Escape Prison? You know what I mean, right?
Prison.
The sim one?
Yes.
And there's like a couple of them. Prison Architect. That's it, right?
Prison Architect.
Yeah. Prison Architect, yep. Orange is the New Black. There you go. Got him.
Yep.
Alright, let's talk a little bit about Ubisoft. Like the games, not the company. Kentucky writes, Ubisoft.
Let's talk about Ubisoft in a positive way.
Yeah, I'll try. Ready? I failed. Ubisoft shutters troubled Tom Clancy game a year after launch. So this is funny. In August last year, Ubisoft launched a mobile Tom Clancy action RPG called Elite Squad, which featured characters from Rainbow Six, Ghost Recon, Splinter Cell, The Division, Hawks, and M-War. Today, less than a full year later, Ubisoft's Alliance studio announced that Tom Clancy's Marvel's Avengers, they call it in Kentucky, that's quite funny. The company delivered the news in a post on Elite Squad's website saying, quote, "It is a great deal of sadness that we're announcing we will no longer be releasing new content for Elite Squad. Today's update will be our last, and on October 4th, 2021, we will shut the servers down. This is not an easy decision, but after exploring multiple options with our teams, we came to the conclusion that it was no longer sustainable." This this is that game they showed so many times and they teased. They spent so much time showing off. Like people actually gave a fuck, and they did. This was the OG sort of like fake Sam Fisher reveal trailer thing where everyone was like, but then it was a mobile game with a bunch of other characters. Everyone was like, who the fuck wants this? And you know what? A year later, no one wanted it. In fact, no one's played it. No one's playing the game. No one cared.
Yeah. I mean, it's in a genre of mobile game that is very saturated, and it's using an IP that nobody feels deeply about.
Not to the degree they'll happily
there's
play.
Like Marvel games. There's Disney Princess versions of the gameplay style they're going for. There's probably DC ones. I'm assuming there's every other possible IP, and you're going with a bunch of random soldiers in your vast variety of Tom Clancy games that honestly barely anybody plays for the characters except for Splinter Cell, you'd say.
Yep. But no,
the one franchise you never want to touch again. So
people didn't want to play it, even for Sam Fisher, because everyone's like, "I want Sam Fisher. I want to Splinter Cell."
See, this is why they're not doing another Splinter Cell game.
Yeah, watch them blame it on that. Well, we tried to see if it was popular, but
we tried. We put Sam Fisher front and center of this mobile game. You didn't have to spend any money. All you had to do was download it. Nobody was playing it. If you're not going to play a game that's no money with Sam Fisher in it, why would we expect you to play a game that you have to pay money for with Sam Fisher in it?
That's exactly what they're going to say, though. Sounds like a joke, but that's probably what's going to happen.
It's got nothing to do with the backlash they got early on about the Black Lives Don't Matter thing in the beginning.
Nothing to do with that. Yeah. Nothing to do with that shitty trailer. Nothing.
No.
All right. Talking about Sam Fisher, crossovers, franchises, Ubisoft. Xdefiant was announced in the middle of the week. So, in case you missed this, it's a dumb name. But then, PC Gamer writes, Xdefiant is a free-to-play 6v6 arena FPS starring playable classes from the Tom Clancy universe. We haven't seen a ton of gameplay so far, but based on what's out there, Xdefiant appears to play a lot like Call of Duty multiplayer. It has the same speed, a similar time to kill, flat-ish maps with limited verticality, and customizable loadouts. What sets it apart from most COD games are its classes and characters' abilities. So they are Wolves, which is Ghost Recon class, tanks with increased health and shielding abilities that protect the team. Then you've got Cleaners from the Division. They're aggressive gunners with high damage abilities. You've got Outcasts from the Division, Xdefiant's main healer role. And then you've got Echelon from Splinter Cell, support characters that can provide intel to the team and deny intel to opponents. There will be 10 maps and 5 modes from the outset. Arena, you're going to have arena ones or linear sort of maps. You'll be able to load out customization. You have unique abilities to the classes and ultimates, or ultras as they're officially called in the game, but that's what game is short term it do, but that's fine. Cleaners got flamethrower, Wolves got dome shield, Echelon's got targeting goggles, Outcast got a healing beacon. And there's more factions coming out for launch. Crossplay expected. It's only starting on PC. It's called Xdefiant. It's a dumb name. And it comes out sometime later this year. It doesn't have a firm release date. There's your catch up on Xdefiant. So what do you think of this, Ash?
Nah. I think we've come to expect for these free to play. If you say your game is a free to play game and you're announcing it, you need to have either a beta or it needs to come out day of announcement. Otherwise, no one's going to keep. It's not like a game that people pay for and like build up hype for. These free to play games or like those kind of modeled games definitely need to be. You need to strike while the iron's hot, and like, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be an audience for it. It's clear that there's some sort of really good. It appears like there's pretty good gunplay in it, but it's like nobody knows. You can say it's really great gunplay and it's really accurate, but nobody can play the game. So why should anybody care at this point? Yeah, I mean, it just. And then there's I know I joked about it on Plat, but like they call the classes factions,
yep.
Which doesn't make sense to me Because what? You're switching between factions during the game? That doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Dylan. Doesn't make sense.
Even in the Last of Us multiplayer,
they're using words wrong.
You had to commit to a faction in the Last of Us multiplayer and then finish a campaign before you could switch to another faction. So, just putting that out there. Yeah, this looks dumb. So, I think it actually has one of the worst video game names ever. Xdefiant. Xdefiant. It's just, even the way it's spelled and everything, it's dumb. The gameplay looks fine, but the thing is, it just looks
does
like...
Does that mean you're not Defiant anymore?
Yeah, I guess that's what it is.
You're complicit.
You were, now you're part of a team. I don't know.
You're fine. You're happy to follow along, follow orders.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, the gameplay looks fine, but it's just that's the problem. It just looks like a novice shooter. No, it looks like a fine first-person shooter, I guess. You know, like having some slightly different abilities isn't really that exciting in 2021 when it comes to shooters. You know? No. Oh, it's a shooter, but
not when you've got Apex.
Yeah.
Not when you're about to get Battlefields.
No.
And Call of Duty. That kind of stuff, yeah. Not much to make it stand apart from anything.
Big old no from that one for me, personally. Sorry. Alright, let's talk some EA. Firstly, before getting into EA Play Live, they did some pre-announcement stuff. One of them was Skate 4. So VG247 writes, new Skate 4 video suggests the game will be open world and feature multiplayer elements as well as character customization. Though we're not going to see any more Skate 4 at EA Play Live, the newly established development team that's working on the game, Full Circle, has shared a teaser explaining a little bit more about what we can expect from the title. In a minute-long behind-the-scenes video, the developer has given us our first meaningful glimpse at how the game will play and what features it's set to contain. The developer is calling on how it reveals certain bytes of information, opting to let skaters and influencers spill the beans rather than saying anything itself. But if you listen closely, there are a few bytes of information to be gleaned. First up, one of the talking heads notes, it just looks beautiful. This whole open world. Before another notes, it reminds them of Skate 2. Can we infer that we're going to get one giant downhill map then, rather than a city carved into zones like Skate 3? So, yeah, if you haven't played any Skate games, 3 was like more of a big open city space, and Skate 2 was like, yeah, it was just more of a rectangle, I guess. Other speakers in the videos hint that you'll be able to dismount your board and climb things in the world too, hint to get more open-ended design. So that was the one thing they point out in the video is they actually have someone. So they in the old game, if you wanted to because you could press it, I think it was down in the game or up, one of them. You could set like a respawn point, right? So, but if you wanted to climb onto something and then set your respawn point at the end of like a bench or something, so you could constantly just push off it to try and land a trick, you had to ollie up. You had to ollie up onto the object and then try and carefully swing yourself around and set yourself up, or get off the board and then carefully do it. But getting off your board, the third person walking was always sort of flimsy, but you still had to get up there or whatever, or try and jump up there. But the jumping was terrible. You often overshoot things. In the trailer, they show that someone's grabbing onto something and climbing up. So that was something you couldn't do in the old ones. Other speakers in the video hinted that, that's what I just said. Another streamer suggests that they cannot wait to play the game with the homies, referring that the multiplayer elements. I don't think that's shocking. There was multiplayer in the last ones. And then just don't expect to play it anytime soon. Skate director Duran Chung says in the video that quote, the truth is it's early. And there's no hint of a release date for the title in the video either. A bunch of people wrote about this afterwards. It seems like they actually only officially started development early this year. So, officially, begun development early this year. I guess there was a lot of, when there was probably just a couple on the team working out what the hell they were doing. Now they've got a team together and they're actually developing it. Yeah, but Skate seems like it's still some time away, but that is the Skate update for the persons who cares, which between me and Ash is me.
It's you.
All right, getting into EA Play Live 2021. This was early, so 3 a.m. Friday morning. This year's EA Play 3 a.m. again. It's fucking...
Why?
They don't have to worry about when people are up anymore, so everything or whatever, because everyone's in lockdown, whatever else. So they're just they just keep doing these streams at stupid times.
I don't think that was on their mind.
Few trailers. The whole event was hosted. Austin Creed was your host for this year. No, well, maybe. Austin Creed
Good
hosted
acting.
it, so there, shout outs. And then we got a bunch of trailers, so of course just going to cover the trailers. The first one was Grid Legends. So this is Codemasters' first game under EA after EA purchased them earlier this year for a massive fucking 1 point something billion. Like it was really big, it was like 1.5 or something $billion or some ridiculous amount. Grid Legends, the trailer, kind of corny. It actually focuses on more talking heads and teasing this like melodramatic element of the game of people trying to be the best racers or whatever. The main person is do you know how to pronounce? Is it Kadi Gatwa? Or is it? Do you say
Nakati Gatwa?
Nakati Gatwa.
I have no idea.
Anyway, of Sex Education fame is the main sort of
Cheaty.
talking head.
No, not Cheaty.
In the trailer, the
Why
main
is it
character
Cheaty?
is best mate. He's the one of the
Dirty
main
boy.
actors in this game because they've got, of course, like all racing games now. They have live action
Story
people.
mode.
That's it. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So in the story mode, that's what we got to go.
Well, what if?
They show some racing.
What if
the cars look
it's
good?
a racing game with heroes?
So do you care for this or no?
No, I'm not a huge racing fan, so you know. I mean, it's cool. I'm sure another option for racing car fans to have something else to drive. Yeah, it's kind of a hard market. I think obviously anybody on Xbox is probably just going to wait till Horizon comes out.
Oh, so this comes out
So-
next year, I guess. Forza's this year, so
Yeah,
people could be done by then.
I guess if you need a racing game.
Might be
Yeah,
a bit more
done
serious.
racing.
I don't know. They didn't really say if it's a serious, like how simmy it was, or just like here's a game.
I don't know. Codemasters is known for their simmy stuff.
More
so-
simmy stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's not true. They did Onrush, so
Yeah.
But this isn't going to be Onrush
No.
or Burnout like people want it to be.
So then we got the Season 10 Emergence Apex Legends official launch trailer. Introduce
Fuck, that season went quickly, huh?
introduce Seer, who's coming. So season launches August 3rd. We haven't got a full Seer video yet that fully explains all of their powers, but this is a pretty cool, as always, Apex new season trailers are pretty cool, but it shows up Seer's abilities, which is the first character outside Bloodhound who has a lot of abilities designed around being able to reveal things for you and your teammates. So
A lot of tracking.
it's like a
stuff,
tracking stuff. Like the main tactical's a tracking thing, the ultimate's a tracking thing, I think, and then we have to see it all in action when we get the official video. But yeah, this is a cool dark trailer. It also teased some changes coming to World's Edge. Of course, our favorite map, I think, World's Edge, surely the one we played the most on. I guess. Yeah, I thought it was really cool.
No.
Yeah, snow, lava, grass, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like 3 sections or whatever.
Sure, but there's 3 things. Dirt, probably as well.
Dirt's probably there. That's a good point. Don't forget dirt. Don't leave that out, but yeah. So Apex Legends.
What are the odds?
Yeah.
What are the odds of him throwing that hat?
I hope so.
Like as a finisher?
If it's
Like full on Kung Lao.
yeah, I'm gonna shoot I finisher, but it's not the
He
normal.
keeps touched it.
But not the normal
doing
one.
The move.
It's a legendary finisher or something. It's not the normal finisher.
Yeah.
Missed opportunity if they
gotta
don't,
be.
but I would assume surely. But yeah, see, it looks really cool. Map changes look cool. Good stuff. Then we got a trailer for Lost in Random, which is this game that was announced last year at EA Play Live. We haven't seen it since, as far as I was aware. Just disappeared for a year, but
yeah, it shows up pretty randomly.
But
Actually, it's not. It just shows up at
it just shows up at EA Play. So we got a new trailer. Game comes out September 10th. PS4, Xbox One, Switch, PC. It's a 3D adventure game with this like sort of gothic art style and story and characters and whatever else. I think, you know, most people are probably going to bring up like sort of Tim Burton-esque inspirations or stuff like that. But yeah, it looks like it looks like there's parts of the game where it just looks like a sort of 3D platformer adventure game. But then when they get into the battling, that the other side of this game is you're in these sort of arenas, and you've got this dice game where you've got like abilities and stuff that's sort of on cards, like so it's sort of this like card game mixed with the dice, so you can use your abilities, but then you have to wait for them to, seems like, because the dice is randomized, the cards represent that and they're randomized and whatever else. So it's got these two elements to the game. You've got the gameplay, and then you've got the 3D sort of exploring the world and that sort of stuff. It looks really unique, I think, and a combination of different elements and stuff, and I'm definitely keen to play this. I think it looks really great. Love the art style, love the character designs. I completely forgot about this until I saw a tweet that got up the night before EA Play, and they're like, "Hey, Lost in Random will be there." I'm like, "Fuck, I forgot that was a game." Completely forgot that was a game that we saw last year. But yeah, I think this looks really cool. How about you?
Yeah, it looks interesting. Obviously, it's got that unique art style that makes it stand out, and clearly it's got a unique gameplay style. So yeah, I think EA have obviously had a fair bit of success with these smaller EA originals. I want to say
EA originals. Yeah. Like It Takes Two and what's the first one of those called?
No Way Out and Unraveled.
Unraveled 1, 2. Yeah. Sure, there's something else we're forgetting. I don't remember.
Probably the one that disproves the rule of them being quite good.
Yeah. So, but all those ones, good. So I'm keen. September's not far away. They sat on it. They made a trailer. They're like, here's a release date soon. Good for them. Looks cool. So then we got Knockout City Season 2 trailer. It's bringing a new map called Hollywood Drive-In. It changes in real time. And they're adding a new bowl with Season 2 called the Soda Bowl. The whole season seems to be focused around this like Hollywood, I guess, because that's the main map, and it's gonna be the theme. A lot of the skins that looked obviously for this season look to be like Hollywood focused or around that sort of thing. So cool trailer. It's good to see Knockout still doing well. I'm definitely keen to play some more with the new map and Soda Bowl and all that sort of thing. It's good. It's been one of these surprise success stories for the year, Knockout City, I think, because we all were like, what the fuck's this game? And now we're like, oh, this game's really good. And we're actually still playing it like more than a couple weeks after it's out. We're like, oh, I'm over it now. It's like, oh, this is like one of the core games in the rotation now where, Season 2, better play some of that, you know. So, yeah, I'm keen. What do you think of the Soda Bowl and the map and everything?
Yeah, it looks good for another successful EA Originals project. Yeah, I mean, more Knockout City. Obviously, I feel like we've had a little bit of a lull the last couple of weeks. We haven't been diving in. But yeah, something to draw everybody back in. It's only like, it's like, what, day after this releases, it'll be launching, so not far away. Yeah, hopefully get some cool skins, some more legendaries to make things easier, to get them trophies. We're not all Buddy Watson going crazy and playing a million games every night. So.
Yeah, or Wednesday, whatever, because it's American date, so probably,
Yeah, that's true. What do you think this Soda Bowl does? If you had to guess, based on that name.
I got all my legendary skins, by the way. There's my update for everyone.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I was trying to watch the trailer now just to see. It looks like it's solely when I was watching it in the trailer. It looks like it does two things, which is either explode or not explode. And I'm trying to work out if it's exploding, if you're doing it a certain way or distance. But you see, like in the trailer, it explodes. You know, like Soda Bowl, so it explodes. But I'm like, is that hurting? Is that an AOE? It'll hurt other team members, or I don't really know what the Soda Bowl does, and they didn't say. So, as far as I could see, they didn't fully explain what it does anywhere. Maybe I missed something on the website or something. But
just makes you sticky.
Yeah. I mean, I'd rather at that case, I'd just rather it give me a normal bowl so I can just hurt. You know, like
no, it makes the person you get hit sticky, so they can't move.
But they take one damage.
Can't move around as quickly.
Did they take one health damage or?
No, it's like the equivalent of being caught in the ball, like the cage ball. Except like their movement's halved because they're all sticky, so they keep stuck.
I don't know if I'd love that, to be honest. But
there you go.
We'll find out. So then we had Battlefield 2042 got a trailer, but the trailer focused on a mode or a part of the game called Battlefield Portal, and that's not a crossover with Valve. It's a mode in the game.
Damn.
Yeah, what a disappointment.
So it's not a physics based puzzle.
Mode. No, disappointingly so. But what it is really cool for people that are Battlefield fans and planning to play Battlefield 2042. It's this part of the game they've created where players are able to basically change everything they want. So they're calling it a community-driven portal where you can do whatever you want. You can change the victory conditions, you can create custom game modes, logic, all sorts of things, set what you want, and also several beloved Battlefield maps. And this is the most important one. Several beloved Battlefield maps will be available in here for people to play. So you got Battle of Bold, Battlefield 1942, El Alaheim, Battlefield 1942, Arica Harbor, Battlefield Bad Company 2, Valparaiso, Battlefield Bad Company 2, Caspian Border, Battlefield 3, and Nosher Canals from Battlefield 3. So they're all included. So that's going to be that's super fans are going to love. I love that, of course. But just the ability to mix modes, mix abilities, change the win condition, change what weapons are available. It's smart because it basically means you're going to extend the gameplay life, especially on PC, more so than console, I guess, because this is PC people love for shooters. They love to be able to customize what and how they're playing, and especially between friends and stuff like that. And that's why certain shooters are done better than others. Maybe on console space it's not that big of a factor, I guess, but the maps are. People will definitely be like, cool, this game's now got several maps I didn't know about, and several are from my favorite. Like someone's like, Battlefield 3 is my favorite, Battlefield Bad Company 2 is my favorite. It's like, well, there you go, there's some nostalgia for you. So, but they had a huge post up on their website. I'll highly suggest reading that if you want to know more, because there's just a lot to it, to what you can change and what you can do and what you can play around with. A completely different team worked on this than the main DICE team, so that's an entire team devoted to like a mode, which is something substantial, I think. So yeah, good job, I guess. DICE, EA. Then we got, finally, at the end of the show, the long, well, not even that long, but the rumored / somewhat leaked, I guess, reveal that Dead Space is indeed a new game. Well, it's a game that's coming, but it's new. That's old. It's based on an old game. It's a remake of an old game. Creepy trailer, teaser, doesn't tell you much, doesn't show you gameplay or anything like that, obviously. But trailer starts, hallway, going down the ship, see them necromorph at the back, their fucking limbs pop up, doing their typical thing where they're on their shoulders. You know what you're looking at if you're a Dead Space fan. And then, of course, the second part of the show, the trailer just shows Isaac Clarke working on a workbench, and you can see above him the writing on the wall where it says cut off their limbs, which is the thing you see right at the start of the first Dead Space game. When you first get your weapon and you get off when you first arrive on the ship and you get your weapon and you see that and it says cut off their limbs, because you're like, well, how the fuck do I kill these things? And well, you got to cut off their limbs. That's how you kill these aliens. You got to cut off their goddamn limbs. And then if you didn't think that was enough to confirm it's a remake of the first game and not some sequel or anything like that, the trailer actually ends with a shot of the USG Ishimura, which is the ship that Isaac goes to fix in space, and you just see it sort of floating in dead space.
Maybe it broke down again.
No, it's not. That's not. And someone wrote the exact same thing and whatever else. Come on now. Really cool trailer. I'm fucking keen, obviously. Very, very, very keen. The one little thing I'll say though for this, like, this is one of those news stories where I went, it wasn't as exciting because I'd been mentally preparing because I'd heard these rumors and whatever else. I was like, fuck yes. Dead Space is one of my favorite games of all time. They're doing a new one. As long as it's not fucked up, I'll be, double thumbs up from me. If it's nowhere near as good and they somehow manage to wreck what make the game special, then I'll be like, I'll just replay the first one or something like that. But hopefully not. But the one thing that's annoying about this is just the fact that EA completely fucked Visceral and now have decided to bring back the franchise. Like they push them to do the co-op thing for Dead Space 3. Then they complain when it doesn't do so well. And then they slowly fuck Visceral over the years to the point that they push him into being a B team. They cancel the Star Wars game, all this sort of thing. They completely throw the whole team away. They go, get in the bin, you're gone. Visceral's dead. And now they're like, well, we've got Motive working on a remake. It just feels like, why do all of that completely... Whenever Dead Space was a good IP, it was a liked, loved IP by horror fans. It was probably the hottest new horror IP that we'd had for years, especially around the first two. Like Dead Space was hot shit around those two for horror fans and even I guess action and adventure fans, because the second one's more like has a lot more action in it than the first one. So a lot of people like that one a lot more, and they completely fucked it up just to do this. Like, who's making these decisions? I don't really want to know. It's probably some person in a suit that doesn't have any clue what they're talking about. Just dumb. But yeah, it's like, it's good. Like, I'm keen, obviously. I'm excited. Like, you know, as soon as I saw the ship, I'm like, oh, it's this, you know, I see Isaac Clarke's, like, the spine thing that tells you your health, like the back of his suit light up. Awesome. The workbench, awesome. The text, all that. The necromorph, the lighting and everything looks really cool in this. Like, it's creepy. Fuck yes, can't wait to play. It's exclusive to PS5, Xbox Series XS, and PC. That means it's a proper, you know, like it's being focused on the new hardware. Awesome. But why did you fuck Visceral? Why would you fuck them like that? Is beyond me. So, yeah. I assume this did nothing for you? Or do you have any thoughts on any of that I was...
No, yeah, obviously, it's a horror game. No interest or desire from my end. Interesting. I think it's kind of interesting. EA obviously didn't like pivot into doing something a bit more substantial, seeing as everyone knew it was going to be Dead Space. It was almost a foregone conclusion that it was going to be Dead Space. Why not have, like they did with every other trailer they did, have an interview with somebody? You know, give us a little bit more information about what they're doing for this remake and that kind of stuff. If it had been kept a secret, then that would have been a great way to end the show. But we knew it was going to be Dead Space, so. But you don't. You don't have to just do a teaser. Yeah.
We was assuming it was going to be Dead Space. So.
We knew it was going to be Dead Space.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I mean, I would have liked something else, obviously, but for there's always that teaser for when they reveal, any company reveals like something that they think or knows big. It's always just a teaser at first. Like, can you think of any game that was huge that straight away got gameplay in the first trailer? From a Last of Us to a Final Fantasy game, you know, like there's always a teaser.
No, and if it's a game that's a well-beloved franchise, you could have had like an interview with someone from the game, like explaining what the game's going to be, or something a bit more substantial.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or like you could just do like a cool video about why people should care about Dead Space.
Well, I haven't checked because I was at work before, and I checked Twitter and I didn't see anything, but I know that like Jonathan Dornbush tweeted after the reveal. I saw he was like, "Oh, looks very exciting. Stay tuned to IGN for more soon." ... And I'm like, does that mean like today, or is he sort of teasing like maybe it's an IGN first or something? You know what I mean? Like maybe that's the thing. Because stay tuned for more. Maybe IGN's got some sort of exclusive coming on Dead Space, which would maybe that's why they didn't do anything in EA, because they made a deal to just sort of spread out the information. I mean, we have no idea how far along it is. We have no idea how long it's been in development. Is this something that's actually just going to come out sooner than later? Who fucking knows? But I'm excited. I'm excited. There was a story going around that a bunch of ex-Visceral people were working on it, which is obviously good to know. And hopefully that's true. But still, I'm just like, that's so fucking dumb, EA. So dumb. Alright, let's talk a little bit about what we've been playing before we wrap up, of course. Let's start with what you've played at Cris Tales. Give me impressions on that, because I've talked about it before, because I played the demo. and I was like, this is a really cool game. And I kept trying to pitch it to you because no one else played it or really seen it. I kept being like, it's this really cool like JRPG type game, RPG game, where you play in the past, present, and future on the screen at the same time. And you got like puzzles and they use it in the battles in cool ways and all sort of stuff. I haven't had a chance to start the full game yet, but you've gone in. How much you played?
I've gone in. I think I played like an hour and a half, maybe. Not a hell of a lot. But yeah, obviously it's a JRPG with this very storybook looking art style that involves you play as a young girl who finds out she's a time mage. She has the ability to use these crystals to alter time. I will say, jumping in, it has just me. It throws you straight into a combat encounter as soon as you start a game to try and explain how the combat works, and then jumps back in time with no explanation to before and kind of set up the beginning of the game. It just felt like a very clunky opening.
It's like a JRPG trope though, that like especially the older Final Fantasies.
I don't know. Yeah, it just felt so out of nowhere. But yeah, it's got an interesting combat system of you being able to affect the time period, because you'll have opponents. Your party shows up in the middle of the screen. There'll be potential enemies on your left and potential enemies on your right. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can change it so you use your time magic, they can go back into the past. And then on the right-hand of the screen, you can change it so that those enemies go into the future. So on the left-hand side, you can make the enemies become younger and they become a little less powerful and that kind of stuff. Or you can send it the other way where they become older, they might become stronger, or they might be called old and like withered and stuff. But then you can also do some sort of effects on them. Like one of the ones in the first combat thing is you spray water on this person with a shield that's impenetrable. Then you fast forward them into the future and the shield's all rusted, so you can beat them up. Or you poison a person and then you send them in the future and the poison all hits them at once, so they die instantly. So yeah, there's some interesting elements that could have potential. There seems to also be a lot of story choice kind of things, and like for example, you see into the future of your town that these two buildings collapse because of something inside. Termites have infected the wood of the buildings and they'll eventually collapse. And you'll be able to get a potion to fix one of these buildings for the future. Only enough potion to fix one of them. So you choose which one you're going to fix, and obviously they'll have ramifications for the future of the people. And then in certain sections, you'll get this. It's got this triangle kind of thing where you can see part into the past and see into the future and see in the present all at the same time. But if you like move sideways, obviously, you can see everything in the past, present, and future. So then you can see the changes you made and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm into it pretty early. Still just learning stuff. It's pretty. It's very JRPG. There's no easy save points, which I found. Played like 20 minutes and then died and then had to go back and reload it. So, that's always fun.
You can save wherever you are, right? From memory, no? Okay?
No. Not after the first section.
Oh.
And it haven't got much healing stuff at the moment. So and they're all mages, so they're kind of squishy. But, yeah, I'm keen to check out more, and it's got interesting potential story. It seems like it's going to be very JRPG, something like a Ni no Kuni or something like, or Final Fantasy, I guess it would be the more mainstream, kind of story. Go into town trying to stop this evil empress, destroying everything. So, yeah, I'll be keen to hear your thoughts when you finally dive in, whether it lives up to the hype and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, it was always the art that got me more so than the game.
Yeah,
it's a very pretty game, so. Just the general the general idea of the game, like using the way they use time.
It is beautiful to look at, yeah.
And I'm like, how do they just like, even from a design point, the way that the world just lines up on the screen with the different time periods or the time zones, I'm like,
yeah,
It's just cool how it presents itself.
Pretty much, yeah. They built every world 3 times.
Yeah, basically.
You're able to easily look at all 3 at any given point, pretty much.
It's unique, that's for sure. All right, the other thing been playing this week that we'll talk about, of course, talked about it last week, Pokemon Unite. We spent the end of the show being like, hey, here's how we think this game plays. Will it be good? Hopefully. I was like, I'm pretty keen to check it out personally. So I did jump on at 5 o'clock when it dropped. And this game's really good, in my opinion. Like, I think this game is pretty darn good and going to be one of the surprise hits for the year, in my opinion. I think it is the most easy to get into. I know it sounds mean, but this is baby's first MOBA. And not in a way that I would say that this is like a gateway drug to playing League or anything. It's just that it is a simplified MOBA that is both you could pick up and play and learn the basics of in one match or doing the tutorials and you're good to go.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to get a bit more competitive, maybe not quite. There's not as quite as deep as League or Dota or whatever. No. But I do think there's enough here that mechanically you can get into it. And there's enough here for a meta game. There is already characters that people are picking. And I'm like, that person needs to be nerfed a bit. Like, that's a bit fucked. And like, you know, like typical sort of competitive gaming stuff. But it has a nice mix of being easy to get into, but with enough depth that can keep you around. The matches are 10 minutes tops. I mean, they can end sooner. They can, or people surrender. You can just beat their fucking ass into a corner and beat them under 10 minutes. But the max is 10 minutes and someone's going to win. So it's easy to sit down and play a game or a couple games and not feel like you're going to be there forever like you do with some of these other MOBAs. It looks good. I think most of Pokemon play well that I've played. I think the free-to-play... Hey?
No, it does look... Well, it looks alright for what it is.
Yeah, I think it looks like for this type of game, I think it looks pretty good. And all the Pokemon looks, the animations and whatever for the most part are good. Yeah, so I mean, look, for people who don't really know what I'm saying, I guess I should explain a bit, because I'm interested to get your thoughts in a second as well, obviously. But yeah, for the people who've not been paying attention, it is a Pokemon MOBA. We kept joking and being like, that's what it is, but it basically is. There is 2 lanes, so you start on one side, it's 5v5, or there's a 3v3 as well, but I didn't like that very much, 3v3. 5v5 is where it's at. So, and it'll suggest lanes, like you pick a Pokemon and maybe like, I suggest you go top, bottom, or whatever, and there's middle lane, which is basically the jungler's area, if you want to compare that to League. But, so you got the middle, top, or bottom. And there are like, there's not like straight up carry roles where it's like the support just sits there and sort of like meta games like in League where they're supposed to just sort of place wards and all this sort of like hardcore stuff. But there's definitely Pokemon that's like your like high damage dealer squishy, and there's, you know, there's tanks and this sort of stuff. So it's like 2 people go each lane, or you don't know what the hell you're doing and everyone goes bot lane for some reason and, you know, shit goes crazy. But it does suggest, I mean,
that's another tactic.
Well, yeah, if you want to go there. But yeah, so there's 2 lanes and you simply go in there. Pokemon spawn in certain points around each lane and in the middle section of the map, the jungle area. So they'll spawn in the middle and they'll respawn after a certain amount of time. So like if you head up top, you'll see several Pokemon in the same spot, and then you can learn the timers. You can be like, kill this, kill this, kill this. Once you've played the game a few times, you know where all the Pokemon are. You know you're quickly trying to beat them because they drop Aeon Energy, I think it's called, whatever, something like that.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's right.
They drop this Aeon Energy.
They drop points.
They drop points, which you'll hold on to and you'll need in a moment. And they also give you experience, which means you can level up. And when you level up, you do then you can pick a new attack, or you can pick the same attack, which will level up how much more damage it does in the game. And eventually you'll unlock your ultimate ability. And if you're playing a Pokemon that evolves, that'll happen as you level up as well. So you go from like you pick Charizard on the home screen as your Pokemon that you want to play for that match, but you'll start the match as a Charmander, and then as you level up, you'll go to Charmeleon and then Charizard. And then you'll unlock your ultimate shortly after getting into the Charizard form, so on and so forth. Yeah, so you get these points for killing Pokemon. If you kill an enemy player controlled by another actual human player, you'll get good amount of XP, but they'll drop some of the points they were carrying from their Pokemon, and you can then pick them up. The max, I think, you can carry is 40 or something like that at a time. And the goal is to basically...
I think it depends on the time, yeah.
Does it? Okay.
Time in the match.
Yeah, because I know I've maxed out before, and I was like, is this the normal max? Yeah. There's a few things I'm still, like, working on the exact logistics.
Trying to figure it out,
yeah. And then you got to push on your opponent, and then in each lane, so bottom and top, there's there's two. Two, like, basketball hoops, I guess is the easiest thing to call it. And you basically have to dump your points in that, and each one has 100 point total, and you dump 40 and it goes down 40, blah, 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 blah. Now, to do that, you have to hold down X for like a couple seconds, and if you're attacked, you're interrupted, and so an opponent can stop you, an AI Pokemon can stop you. So you want to, so if you kill both your opponents, you want to quickly rush up and get some points in. There are some other things you can do to help push that, like a Rotom can spawn and you can attack, and if you kill that, it'll push forward with you, and if you manage to get that to the enemy's hoop, it'll and it can attack it. It'll leave it wide open, so you can dump your points by simply pressing like X for 0.5 of a second instead of having to hold it down for a couple of seconds. So there's other sort of things you can be doing to make it easier for yourself to get in there. Of course, yeah. So that's your bottom top, and then your middle laner or your jungler or whatever you want to call it. They're sort of farming off the Pokemon that are spawning around these camps. They can also, much like in other MOBAs, there are Pokemon that spawn amongst these camps that provide buffs for the entire team, not just for them. It'll give like shields and do extra damage when you attack minions or that are low health and all these other sorts of things. And that's what they're doing. And then, the aim is for, if you're playing that role, to come gank your opponent, like, so come up behind and help perform an attack so they can kill them, and then push that lane up. Of course, you're also in the middle, you're collecting the points as well, so you need to be able to go dump them into one of the lanes. You don't have a hoop yourself to dump it in. And then other objectives happen in the game. This sounds like a lot for 10 minutes, but it does, when you play the game, it feels fine, it flows together quite well. Like, other things will happen, like a certain point in the match, you'll have these sort of mid-range Pokemon spawn, like down the bottom one spawns. I can't remember who it is now. I actually can't remember who it is, but you can fight that and get a bonus. And then the main one is like about halfway through the match or whatever. Zapdos spawns in the middle of the map. You can fight Zapdos if you the team that defeats Zapdos. All the enemy things are unlocked to the point you can dump your points with just that 0.5 second sort of hold of X, so you can push like crazy and dump all your points and go absolutely mad and do that. And then at the end of the game, if 10 minutes is up, it's the team who's dumped and scored, like literally dumped in and scored hoops of the most points, or you can push all the way through earlier and take all your opponent's zones out and win that way, or the enemy team spits it because you've beaten them so hard and they forfeit, which I've had happen in like under 2 minutes, I think is the one. Like, absolutely smashing this team.
Wow.
And they it was crazy. Like, they had like 7 points, and oh my God, they were terrible. But I mean, it feels bad.
I don't even know how to
forfeit. Neither.
Surrender.
No one of my teams ever tried. No, I haven't tried, but I've had like probably 3-4, I think, forfeit when I've been playing.
So we don't know how to quit.
Yeah. No, I don't quit. I only win. You know what I'm saying? Win. Yeah, it's really good. I think this is legit really good. So I'll get your thoughts on the game, and then I'll touch a little bit on like the microtransaction stuff as well, and then what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I think it's pretty easy to get into, like pretty, like you said, kind of like a baby's first MOBA. I think obviously the Pokemon element like makes it pretty easy to get into. Obviously, the further you unlock like battle, there's like level up, you can unlock like items and stuff you can add, which kind of adds a little bit more elements to the game and that kind of stuff. But yeah, for the most part, I'm enjoying it. It's like sometimes you're like, what am I doing wrong? Why do I keep getting taken out in like six hits? And I think there's a lot there. I feel like teamwork helps a lot, which is difficult in a game where you can't really communicate very much. I think it'd be cool if we could get like 5 people together and go team up and on one run and see how many big games we can get in a row if we're all on a Discord or something communicating at the same time. And like, I think you probably dominate over a lot of these other randomly thrown together teams. So, but yeah, I'm enjoying it. Like, I feel like it's obviously got that mobile play game aesthetic to it. That, and obviously this first week there's like rewards for jumping in every single day. So probably after this recording session, I'll jump in again and try and get a couple of rewards and that kind of stuff. Log in at least. But yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. I think it's pretty solid.
Yeah, I definitely feel like because I played League so much, there's definitely like some things I see myself doing. Not saying like I'm the best player of League ever, but just like general mechanically things that I learned from playing that I'm doing in this that like other people aren't, and I'm just outplaying them. Like, so straight off the top of my head, there's bushes in the lanes, right, and in the middle. If you walk into a bush, if someone's targeting you, they suddenly can't target you for a second, but you can target them, right? So, you know, like there's outplayability. Other things I've seen people do, and like I had someone in my lane with me that kept doing it. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, so he walked in, he lost a fight or whatever. So then the other team got ahead. You can see the level. Like we're level 4, they're level 6, you know? But he would land like a stun attack and he'd go all in. And I would land a couple attacks, but I'm like, I'm not with you because we're going to lose that because they're 2 levels above us. Which means that they've probably, I think at that stage, leveled up their main attack a second time. And these are just things that I don't think...
This isn't a one-on-one fight. This isn't a...
No, this is
a one-to-one fight.
This is normal. This is like the sort of things you'd... Like playing League, when you know the characters, you'd be like, all right, they're level 4. If they're playing that character, they've probably unlocked this ability because that's the one most people... You know, like, it's just like sort of that level of thing where... And this game isn't as deep as that, but it does have that sort of element where, you know,
it is a little deeper. I guess you've got 2 different attacks for each of the things you can decide between. So
yeah, and that is
Pokemon
important
isn't
to learn.
Going to play the exact same.
Yeah, and the one I played the most is Pikachu, right? Because I've been having some fun with Pikachu. And one of Pikachu, I brought the battle pass or whatever, and then it gives you a hip hop Pikachu costume. Love that shit. I'll get to microtransactions in a second because that is important. But so like one of Pikachu's attacks is a stun attack. One's not. So if you're playing against a Pikachu and you're like reached level 3 or 4, whatever it is, and you've never seen a Pikachu use the stun against you, suddenly that means you can play more aggressive against that Pikachu because they're not going to be able to stun you. Like you can go all in, they've got no way to out you or whatever. Whereas if you know they have the stun and they use it, you then know it's on the cooldown and maybe you should attack now. So if you see the Pikachu use a stun on a minion, on an AI Pokemon, you should probably attack them after that because they don't have it. But this is all that sort of, you know, that's where the outplay is. That's where you could lose a fight and be like, why did I lose? And then you realize it's because you used all your attacks on the APOM in lane, and then the enemy team started a fight with you and you had none of your abilities up. And you just auto-attacking them and you lost. And you're like, well, how did I lose? It's like, well, they had all their actual attacks up. You were just auto-attacking them and you lost. So there's stuff like that. So there is a level of depth here. All right, microtransactions stuff. Free to start, as Nintendo described it. I don't think it's that bad. I mean, it's literally base level microtransactions. So you start the game, you can pick one. So each, the Pokemon or the characters, you know, like every one of these types of games, you have to unlock the characters, buy the characters somehow. When you start the game, you get to pick 1 of 5, I think it was. I've got an article up, exposionova.com, where I've listed all this, but you get to pick 1 of 5 Pokemon. So I picked Pikachu. What did you pick for your Pokemon? At the start, you get to pick that one license.
Is the flying one.
Flygon? No? Something else?
Sure.
I can't remember all the flying Pokemon spells. Oh, the bird?
The bird, yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember which bird it is. But that one, yeah.
Talonflame.
There you go, Talonflame.
There we go.
Yeah, so you pick one license at the start of the game. That's unlocked for you, so you got a Pokemon there. Then in the free battle pass thing, or what, I don't know what it's called, because it's just your character. It's not battle pass. It's your character, your user leveling up. So when you reach level 2, you unlock a Pokemon, and then when you reach level 8 or something like that, you unlock a Pokemon. Scrolled all the way through to like level 30, which appears to be the max profile. You don't unlock any more for free. So it's just those 2 in your earlier levels. Currently, there's another one you can unlock for free that I haven't yet. It's for completing the 7th day of the first week of bonuses or whatever, you can unlock another Pokemon there. And then also you can currently unlock, what's the fucking legend?
It's Aurora.
Yeah, for free if you log into the game before April 31st or whatever it was. There's an article up.
April 31st next year.
No, this year. Did I put the date wrong?
It's already July.
Oh, sorry. What's next month? August next month. If you log in before August next month. And of course, if you're waiting to play the game on mobile primarily and you have a Switch, it's like, well, log in now to get that because it's cross-progression and cross-play when it comes out on mobile. So just do that. So they're the ones you can get for free. Then after that, you've got to buy the rest. You can earn the currency to unlock them in-game. Or, of course, you can buy using premium real-world currency. So I did the maths. Fuck, I should have opened it. It's fine. Actually, maybe I can real quick because I actually did the math.
I think it was like 300 and something.
Coins
from
or
memory? No, dollars.
I think it was like 150.
No, it was like 100.
All right, here we go. So I put an article up, explosionover.com. I did the maths. So currently the bundles are, so you got your typical sort of thing. $1.50 bundle, $5.99 bundle, $30.99 bundle, all the way up to $159.99 bundle for premium currency. I don't like games when they have such a high amount. I think they should be lower so people can't do that. But anyway, that's a whole different subject. The top four, so if 150 through to 399, they currently have this first time bonus thing. So if you buy the $30.99 one, which gives you 1,220 Aeon gems, you get an extra 1,220. So taking that into account, you'll need to spend $154.95, and that's buying solely the $30.99 bundle, which works out the best value because you can buy that, get double, and then reach the amount needed rather than buying the $160 outright, and that still wouldn't get you enough. But doing it that way, you can get 7,360 Aeon gems needed, and that's how much you would need to buy every character in the game day one now. So you'd need to spend $150. You're not going to do that. That's fucking dumb. You can unlock the characters playing the game.
I will say, I think there's also a 14-day login promotion thing where there's a bunch of these Pokemon that unlock that way as well.
Yeah, so no, the only ones I can find were the ones that... One of them is...
Because I've already got an Alolan Ninetales I haven't paid for.
Really?
I'm pretty sure on the thing you also get Cinderace and Greninja, so...
Okay, I'll look back into it. But, yeah. Well, the more free ones you can get, obviously, it's good. But, yeah. Otherwise, yes. It's like somewhere between... So they cost either 8,000 Aeon coins, which is the in-game currency, or 10,000 Aeon coins, which is the in-game currency. I played for a couple hours and I reached nearly 10,000 or around 10,000.
To be clear, yeah, 8,000 Aeon coins or 460 Aeon gems, which is the one you pay for.
Yeah, I mean the in-game currency. Like I earned 10,000 Aeon coins after my couple hours of play, but that was with also a lot of the early game coin bonuses. So I'm like, well, how much is this relative to how much you would be earning later in the game? I don't really know. But I would say to unlock all the characters by actually playing the game, you could probably unlock a new character every 3 to 5-ish hours, I'm going to say on average, especially if the unlocks slow down. So it's going to be possible, and you can certainly unlock them. It doesn't seem impossible. It doesn't seem like, oh my god, I'm going to have to play for weeks to unlock one new character. You won't have to play for weeks. You'll have to play for some time to unlock. You have to play daily, weekly to make sure you're earning the challenges, which give you the coins. But it seems fair. Doesn't seem too bad. As far as that goes, there's a free battle pass thing. There's some free daily unlocks. There's your free weekly unlocks. There's a premium battle pass, which costs $15 or whatever it was, like your typical sort of game that gives you some skins. The skins in this game are really fucking cool, by the way. Like I know I was talking about it last week, but they look so funny. Like I like how they're having fun with it. I appreciate the fun they're having with the skins.
Yeah.
So you get that sort of stuff, and you can get costumes for your character, your trainer in the game. You can get that sort of stuff as well. From either spending the coins as well, or premium currency, or via the battle pass thing, or whatever else. So honestly, as far as if we're rating this on is the in-game mechanics, currency, unlocks, is it really pressuring you to spend a bunch of money? Does it seem like it's not giving you unlocks for free? Like on this sort of thing? I think it's fine, personally, so far. This is me after one day of play. How I feel now, I'm saying it's fine. Did you feel like it was like in the realm of...
Yeah, I didn't feel too money hungry yet. yeah, it felt reasonably balanced, although I haven't had any urge to unlock any extra ones. I feel like, I'll just keep plugging away at all these free ones, and then once I can't get any more free ones, then I'll try and like buy some other different ones. So
yeah, because I was like, I'm going to be playing this game. I was like, after my couple hours, I was like, I like this game. I'm going to be playing this. Maybe I'm not playing it every day, but I'm going to be playing it. Like I have a history of liking MOBAs mechanically. This seems like one I could happily just play a couple matches of, or even a match of, because of the time, and be like, cool. I like Pokemon. Like it's a nice middle ground between things I like. So I'm all in for this, and but I still want to. I can play with you eventually. I don't know if anyone. We don't really know anyone else playing like amongst the core group or whatever. So who the fuck knows? Sure.
Assume there's Nintendo, the House Mario.
Yeah, I mean like
playing it.
Exposure Network. No, Kieran's not going to be playing this or whatever. But
no. I don't know. We talk about it enough.
Yeah, you'll be like, I guess I'll try it.
We talk about how much we love it. Man, it's better than that Dota crap.
Yeah. So I brought the Battle Pass for that because I was like, I'm just going to be playing it. I want this costume now. I want it today. Thank you very much. $15 or whatever. But you have to buy it with the coins. That's the one thing that annoys me.
All you have to do is give Dylan a Pikachu and a hip hop costume, and he'll just spend whatever.
But here's my one negative I should remember. So to buy the Battle Pass, you've got to buy it using the Aeon Gems, not the actual currency. And of course, the amount of Aeon Gems you need is more, it's that typical thing where you've got to buy.
It's like every other microtransaction.
Yeah, you've always got to buy it above. So I was like, I would have had to spend whatever, I can't remember. I think it was more like 2 lots of the $5, $6, $12 one or something. Anyway, I ended up just spending the $30 because I was like, I don't need all this, but it's times 2, and I just left it on there. So I'll spend $30 on this game later. It's fine. Look, I admit it. I said it. It's fine.
Half the fun of these games is not spending any money.
Yeah, but I wanted the Battle Pass. But now I won't spend any Aeon Gems, and then. It's like, I'm pretty sure the last amount I spent on Apex was around $30 or whatever. Because most of the time when I refill accounts, I don't want to spend like $50, $60, $100. But I want to get some of that bonus currency. So I always end up spending around $25, $30 on these games. Because then I think with Apex, I spent like $30 last time, brought the Battle Pass. And then because of that, I have enough on there, like it lasts. So this will last. I'll just leave the gems there. And then if they get around and I got to buy another one whenever they do another one, I'm good. They're sitting there. They're not going to go to waste. It's fine. It's funny. The only Nintendo games I've spent real world money on, this and what, you remember that one I was into like 2 years ago? World of Blocks? Do you remember that one? It was like the automated one, but you could control it if you want, but it was mostly just automated. It was on mobile and it was on Switch. I put like 100 hours into it. Or something fucking ridiculous.
The Pokemon Quest?
Yeah, that one. Pokemon Quest. I spent like $30 on that as well. But I put 100 hours in, so I was like, you know what? I was having some fun with this game.
What?
I was having some fun. I feel like after 100 hours of spending $30 on it, I don't feel it.
Your money's worth.
I got my money's worth. Yeah, it's fine. All right. That's it. Gotta go play some Pokemon Unite, I guess. Good show, everyone.
Guess so.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Arcade Couch. Let us know your thoughts on Pokemon Unite or anything else we've been talking about. Or, tell us how you're not going to be a fuckhead, and if you see someone being a douche in your workplace, how you're going to call them out. You can do all that going to explosionnetwork.com/Twitter, explosionnetwork.com/Discord. I shouldn't really be joking. It's not really a jokeable thing, but there's not really like a dark... It's not really, but I'm making light of a dark scenario because comedy is the, anyway. explosionnetwork.com/Twitter, explosionnetwork.com/Discord. If you liked this episode and thought it was worth $1, head on to explosionnetwork.com/support to drop $1 or more on our Ko-fi page. And until next week, same time, same couch. Bye. Hey, don't forget you can subscribe to the show wherever you're currently listening, and you can drop a review if you can. Find more great shows like this and more content over at explosionnetwork.com, and please consider supporting us for as little as $1 over on our Ko-fi page by heading to explosionnetwork.com/support. Thanks for listening.